Hey YouTube, it's me, Brandon Colonel. The next knife review that I have for you is on the United Cutlery Punch Dagger. Now, if you guys have been looking at the Facebook page that I've got, then I said about a week ago that I was still trying to get this stupid thing sharp, even after I got the reprofiling stones in. Which, after countless hours of trying to sharpen this knife, yeah, it's not cutting anything, which, before people start chiming in the comments saying a punch dagger isn't supposed to cut things, I've seen punch daggers that do. Because, yes, there are quite a few punch daggers out there that are not meant to cut anything. With just how thin of a profile this actually has, it should really be able to cut something. Just at the very least something. But yet I can confidently just run my fingers along this edge, and this is after I've been working on it for quite some time. Not a cut anywhere. Yeah, absolutely nothing. This edge is not worth anything, and I've put countless hours of sharpening into this knife. Now, there we go. Yeah, you can probably tell the edge that I've been working on this side. And especially tell a little bit closer to the top. Yeah. Hopefully this thing will get into a bit better focus, but okay, it's not really one to focus at all, but yeah. I've reground this thing down pretty far, and it's just not doing anything. So, kind of time to give up, throw in the towel, and review it. Unfavorably, I'll have to admit. Now, as just a standard push dagger with the sole intent of stabbing, scores very highly all across the board. This is a very effective penetrator, and it will stab anything incredibly easily. And I actually did find that that the thinner I ground the edge, the easier it went in. So, grinding down the edge does make for easier penetration, but cutting potential still is absolute crap. The ergonomics, I really do like it, but I prefer to not have my ring on, because that gives me a better grip. So if you're dedicating to one of these, then either take off your ring when you put it on, because with the ring it's kind of uncomfortable, and it makes the knife a little bit more wobbly. Whereas without it, then you can grip it a lot better, and it's a lot more solid. So if you're dedicating to one of these, then take off the rings. Just plain and simple, take off the ring. And you'll get a lot more solid grip on it. And, but yeah, so that's that. If you're looking for quality fit and finish, it's not really the best. The blood groove is horribly off-center. On both sides, the grinding is uneven on the fuller, which on this side, and actually on this side as well, this part and this part, the sides are higher than the other side of the blood groove. So this is actually higher than this side. And that's on top of being horribly off-center. When I originally bought this, the edge was like worse than a 45-degree angle. It was absolutely horrid. There was no cutting potential to be found in this. Honestly, I could have gripped this thing as hard as humanly possible and just pulled it out of my grip. The most that would have happened is I would have had white lines. It would not have cut me for anything. I'd be a little bit more worried to do that now, after I have touched it up. It probably would cut, but it would be a very jagged and painful cut. So, But yeah, as just a standard punch dagger, this is very, very effective at penetration. But to make it even more effective, you will have to grind it down, which would, in effect, cause you to basically rip out your hair with how much time, effort, and energy it takes to actually do that, which... Let me actually get the grinding stones that I had real quick, just to show you what they were. Got them right behind the camera right here. Okay, I was using both of these, which I took out the back because, quite frankly, I didn't need it. This is a 70 grit extra coarse. Wait, let me see what this is. Yeah, 70 grit extra coarse stone. And I'm pretty sure that this is Arkansas, but or Arkansas. Some people call it Arkansas, some people call it Arkansas. It's weird, one of those weird words. Yeah. But yeah, this is just a 70 grit stone. This is what I was using the majority of the time. Incredibly rough and brutal grit that'll jack up anything that you put on this thing. This thing laughed at it when I tried to sharpen it on this. I mean, honestly, this thing was laughing at it. It didn't work. And you can see that it was very heavily reprofiled. And you can probably tell which side I reprofiled it on. But it just didn't get sharp. And then, eventually, just to see if maybe the grit was too high, or sorry, the grit was too low, then I bumped it up to the 180 coarse grit stone. This one. A little bit finer grit. I was thinking maybe I can refine the edge a little bit. Still didn't do jack. And then finally I actually went through every grit down to the strop. Still didn't do jack. It wouldn't cut a daggone thing. So eventually I gave up and decided it's just time to review the stupid thing. So, now let's get on to the sheath. Very, very good sheath. I actually am really impressed with this. Very durable. It's only single stitching, but let's face it, this is going to be in your boot the entire time. If your boot alone doesn't keep this thing together, you're kind of screwed. But also, it has very good rivets keeping it together. It's got stitching that doesn't exactly look like it's coming apart. The stitching itself is actually very thick. So yeah, that's going to work out. The thing that I didn't like about this sheath design is actually the clip. This is insanely strong. Just absolutely insane. I mean, trying to get this thing inside of a boot is next to impossible. I mean, you're spending about 5 minutes just solely trying to clip this thing onto your boot. I mean, it takes a lot of force. I mean, if you're doing that, it seems fairly easy. But when you're trying to go underneath of it and slide it down into a boot, yeah, that's next to impossible. And then when you've got boots about that thick, yeah, that little bit that comes out is not really all that much. So, yeah, you're expected to spend about 5, maybe even 10 minutes just simply getting this thing in your boot. Once it's in, it disappears. You really don't notice it in there. It's very comfortable. It fits against your leg very snugly. As you can see here, it's very snug. There's not really all that much sticking out. And since it disappears to about here, there's not really all that much coming out over top of your boot. So again, it fits down very snugly, and you're really not going to have all that much of a problem with this. The quick release mechanism obviously works very well. It's the same one That was on the Smith & Wesson HRT tactical boot knife, which was my first review that I ever did. Yeah, it's got the same kind of quick release lock that was on that, so very high favor of that. But honestly, just the way that everything works, you may want to release it with your thumb, but considering that it's going to be so snugly put against your leg, you're really going to have to kind of work your finger back here and then grab it. Because quite honestly, trying to get your finger down here in the heat of the moment, that's really not going to work. I mean, you're going to be fumbling around with that pretty much for the entire time before you just give up and go back to fighting with your fists if you're relying on this thing. So if you're using this thing as a tactical defense knife, then remember, go in from the side and unlatch it and then pull it. Don't try to go in just straight for it and just go straight down. Don't try to get in like that and be cool, because in the heat of the moment it's really not going to work. But yeah, so otherwise the sheath that gets higher marks on every end except for the pocket clip. Even this I can still appreciate. But the clip, just no, that is insane. Just seriously lighten off the clip a little bit. But again, the blade, very comfortable in hand. Not quite as comfortable up here, which I've seen some people do. I really do suggest it for going in between the middle of your fist. But yeah, absolutely zero edge, terrific tip, great ergonomics, but fit and finish is not the best. And although I can understand somewhat why they have ridges on here, what gets me is that, for one, they're a little sharp, and it's somewhat uncomfortable. But also, why would you put the ridges in the only direction that it's going to be moving? It's moving this way. Why would you put the ridges going in the same direction? That makes it easier. If they had put it going this way, then that would, for one, help to prevent it from moving a little bit more, which it's already pretty much locked into place as long as you have the right grip. It's not going anywhere. But that little extra grit going this way would actually help to stop it a little bit more. But yeah, honestly, the ridges are a bit deep right now, and they are somewhat uncomfortable. So, but yeah, that's just what to expect out of this kind of knife, because honestly, you can expect these at around maybe $15, $20. Sometimes you can find them for a little bit cheaper. I found this at my local pawn shop, which my local pawn shop sells knives factory direct. But yeah, so honestly, you get what you pay for. This is a $15, $20 knife. Not really all that much. They have a larger version and a smaller version. I basically got the medium version, which is actually kind of odd because I don't see it on any website for a medium version, but yet there was a large version. So yeah, that was a little odd, but yeah. So you get what you pay for. It's decent penetrator, horrible slasher, insanely strong clip. Need to rethink maybe just how long the quick release is to make it a little bit easier. Either that or make it poke out a little bit farther. But otherwise, the sheath is firing on all cylinders. So, just final opinion. If you feel like spending hours upon hours upon hours of regrinding this thing to make it an even better penetrator, go ahead. If you just simply want a decent penetrator, go ahead. If you're looking for a knife that's actually going to cut something, go look elsewhere. As always, YouTube, stay safe.